What's up, everyone? Ponylover1989 here, and I am going to tell you a creepypasta reading of a video game called Pokemon Lost Silver. Now, Pokemon Lost Silver is a story about a simple college student who got so excited about the releases of Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver, the remakes of Gold and Silver, until he decided to replay his Crystal version, but it was thrown away because of a bad corrupted save file, and also his silver version. So he went to a used GameStop to buy a used copy of silver version, and that's where things start to take a dark turn, and something that does not go horrifically wrong. Anyway, here we go. You see, I am a simple college student living alone in an apartment. I was very enthusiastic about the release of Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver here in the States. I have purposefully locked myself out of all media and the internet aside for school purposes. That means no 4chan, no /v/, no Bulbapedia, etc. As I was busy with the school year and being poor at the time, I wasn't able to buy Soul Silver on its launch day. After my school year ended, I ordered Soul Silver on Amazon. However, it would take a week for it to arrive. I decided that during the time, I would replay my Crystal version on my Game Boy Color. However, I realized that long ago, my mom threw it away because I told her the save went bad, and I was very upset about it then. She also threw away my silver version, so all I have is my Game Boy Color. As such, I set out to GameStop and bought a used silver version, as it's the only Pokemon game left that they have for the GBC, Game Boy Color. $10, fairly cheap. I went home and started it up for a nostalgia trip. However, that's where things started getting bizarre, and most likely the reason why you read this. The Game Freak logo started up as normal, but it just froze there. I thought the cart was just errored or something, so I turned it off and on. The same thing happened. I tried pressing A and start over and over, and all of the buttons. Eventually, the logo vanished, and there was a black screen for about 5 seconds. Suddenly, rather than going to the usual menu screen, I was already in the game in a previous save file, which was odd, as I was expecting all of these cards to have been wiped by the poor battery. Either way, I wasn't complaining, as I would have chosen the continue option to see what the previous guy did anyways. First off, I check his trainer information. His name was just 3 periods. He didn't have much originality. I checked his profile, and apparently he had 999 hours put into the game, with all 16 badges, 999,999.9 Poké Dollars, and all 251 Pokemon on the Pokédex. Seeing as he apparently had Mew and Celebi logged also, I am guessing he either used a Game Genie or was a really hardcore Pokemon player back then. I checked his Pokemon to see what a badass team he has. To my surprise, I saw 5 unknown and a 6th Pokemon named Hurry. I'm checking that this must be some cruel joke by the person who last played this game, but I decided to check the profiles of those Pokemon anyways. As expected, there were different letters of unknown, all level 5. I was a bit shaky with my unknown alphabet at the time, but I identified the word spelled out to be leave. As for the 6th Pokemon, it turned out to be a Cyndaquil. Mind you, this is before there were individualized Pokemon icons. The Cyndaquil looked normal, but it was level 5 with only 1 hit point left, with only 2 attacks, Leer and Flash. I don't know why they named him Hurry, but at the time, I just disregarded it. The most eerie thing was that, despite my volume being at max, none of the Pokemon he had said their usual cries, just pure silence. Having enough of the team, I closed it. I was parked at what appears to be a room inside Bellsprout Tower. However, for some reason, there were no NPCs around. Even more eerie was that the pillar in the middle didn't move at all, as if it just leaning on its side. There was no music at all, and there was no exit or ladder, or at least I thought there weren't. I walked around for a few minutes, but can't seem to find a way out. This was certainly not a room I've seen in the Bellsprout Tower before. I tried checking my items for an escape rope, but the bag was completely empty. There wasn't any wild Pokemon either. Finally, I managed to find a ladder, which turned out to be behind the pillar. The screen turned black and the music finally started playing. I had a sudden chill as I recognized that melody I heard to be the theme you hear when you listen to the radio at the Alph Ruins, or the ruins of Alph where the unknown are at. I immediately realized that it wasn't a loading transition, but rather I was in a dark room and would need flash. Before I took care of that, though, I immediately checked my Pokegear to check the radio to something more pleasant. But it turns out that there was no radio card, or even a phone, nor time cards. There was only a map card in which Gold, 3 periods from earlier, and I will call him Gold from now on, was just walking in a mist of black. I recall that Cyndaquil has Flash, so I turned off my Pokegear and made Cyndaquil use Flash. I didn't see any message saying Hurry has used Flash, or anything like that. The room just became lit, just like that, and I soon regretted it. The room was a chilling blood red, with a liner gray path heading south. The ladder I used to go up and down was not there at all. I had no choice but to head south. The screen got darker every 20 steps I made, until I finally made it to the end, which appears to be a sign. I read the sign which said, "Turn back now." Suddenly, I was asked to answer yes or no, but there was no question asked. I chose yes, as I do not know what it was asking, and the screen went black again, making a ladder climb sound. The unknown radio music stopped, and in a few seconds was replaced with the not as creepy Poke Flute radio music. I was in another dark room, but I held my breath and used Flash again. Suddenly, it said that Hurry has fainted, which was odd since I recall that there was no status conditions like poison on him, and I clearly wasn't in a battle. I checked my Pokemon quickly and suddenly he's no longer in my party. In fact, after a bit of investigating, none of my Pokemon are there, but instead all replaced with level 10 unknown. I did the same thing as before and spelled out the unknown. My then team of unknowns spelled, he died. Either way, after that creepy change, the room was lit to reveal myself in a very small room that appears to be only 4 squares big. The walls of that room were gray bricks, as if I was inside something that was hollowed out. Outside that room appears to be a bunch of graves, similar to the ones in Pokemon Red and Blue. I've walked around that small room and pressed A, but nothing happened. I've already concluded that this was clearly a hacked game and some sadistic fuck sold it to GameStop. However, my curiosity kept me going. I checked the trainer profile of 3 periods again, only to find out that the sprite of Gold was missing his arms. He also seems to appear less smug, but rather seems more sad and empty in a way that I do not know how to describe. For some reason, it also now said that he has 24 badges, which was clearly impossible. After a few minutes of aimless wandering, my character suddenly spun and did the escape rope spinning animation. Instead of flying up through, my character spun downward slowly as if sinking. After that screen, the music stopped. After finally landing, the overworld sprite of Gold is colored differently now. Instead of the usual red color he dons, he appears completely white now, including his skin. It's as if he came straight from a colorless Game Boy games placed into a colored background of the Game Boy Color. I checked his profile, and now white as his overworld sprite. He has lost his legs and has what appears to be bloody tears from his eyes. It also says he now has 32 badges, which now starts to disturb me as this change of numbers seems to represent something important. I check my Pokemon, which this time contains 5 unknowns and a level 100 Celebi without a nickname. The unknown are this time level 15 and spelled out dying. I check Celebi's profile. It was a shiny Celebi, except there's only half the sprite, 1 leg, 1 arm, 1 eye. It only has 1 attack, Perish Song. The area I was in itself was the Sprout Tower, with the immobile pillar as before, except everything is apparently dark red now. I walked north for what felt like forever. Eventually, I finally encountered some generic men and women NPC. They were all lined up to the side, just facing the long, slantish pillar in the middle. They were also white, and nothing happens when I try to speak to them by pressing A. I kept on going north until eventually the pillar finally appears chopped off with a transparent trainer red in that spot. I went up to red, and without even pressing A, I was suddenly engaged and finally in a battle. The music starts again, which sounds like the unknown radio music again, but it was played backwards. Gold's battle back sprite matches his front one with the bloody eyes, white skin, and lack of arms, while Red's sprite was the same as before in Pokemon Gold, Silver, and Crystal version, except transparent. The text simply said wants to battle, as if he has no name, and both of us only have 1 Pokemon each, which is weird. I swear I had 6 with the unknown. My shiny Celebi came out, conveniently with half a sprite for the back sprite also. The shiny noise and the animation was different, as the sounds it made sound like multiple screech attacks used consecutively. Red sent out a seemingly normal male Pikachu, except he is level 255, and his sprite seems sad and has tears in his eyes. Rather than the usual fight item Pokemon Run menu in the fight menu, I was only given the option to use the attacks. Since Celebi only has 1, I chose it. Naturally, since Pikachu was level 255, he went first. Pikachu used Curse, lowering his speed and increasing his other stats. I'm not even sure if Pikachu could use Curse. Celebi used Perish Song. In 3 turns, both Pokemon get KO'd. Not like I have a choice. At this point, I didn't even go back to the fight menu, as the battle just continued without me. Also note that there were no animations at all for some reason. Pikachu used Flail, which didn't do much damage despite his level and boost as his health was maxed. Celebi used Perish Song. Nothing happens as it was already used. Pikachu used Frustration, which did a shit ton of damage, knocking Celebi down to less than 10 HP. Celebi used Pain Split, which surprised me as Celebi didn't even have that attack in the first place. Now Celebi and Pikachu have about 150 HP. Pikachu used Mean Look. Not like that did anything. As expected, due to the effects of Perish Song, my Celebi fainted. Except in the text it said, Celebi has died. And instead of the ordinary drop-off the screen animation, Celebi's back sprite just vanished. For some reason, the Pikachu was still up, even with the Perish Song, and it didn't count as my loss. Pikachu used 1 more different attack beyond the 5 attack limit. Pikachu used Destiny Bond. Afterwards, it said Pikachu has died, with a slow fade-out animation. Apparently, I was the winner, as the transparent red sprite showed up and said, blank. At that point, I just freaked out, as that transparent red sprite was suddenly beheaded, leaving nothing but his transparent body. The battle then ended at that point and faded out along with the music. I'm in the overworld with another change to Gold sprite. He's now as transparent as Red's overworld sprite.